When you look at a classic 19th century masterpiece hanging in a quiet, softly lit museum, you admire the delicate brushstrokes and the rich, warm shadows. But what if I told you that the beautiful deep brown paint used to create those shadows was actually made from pulverized human corpses? Welcome to the disturbing history of Mummy Brown, the Victorian art world's most macabre secret. In the 19th century, Europe was swept by a massive wave of Egyptomania. Ancient tombs were being ruthlessly plundered, and mummies were shipped to England by the thousands. The Victorians were so obsessed with them that they hosted lavish unwrapping parties, where the elite would gather to drink champagne and watch a thousands of years old corpse be stripped of its bandages. But the art world found an even darker use for these ancient bodies. Paint manufacturers discovered that if you took a mummified human, crushed their bones, and ground their dried flesh into a fine powder, mixing it with white pitch and myrrh, it created a beautifully rich, transparent brown pigment. They literally called it mummy brown. For decades, some of the greatest artists of the era used this specific pigment to paint shadows, human hair, and draped fabrics, blissfully unaware or perhaps simply unbothered by the fact that they were smearing ground-up human remains onto their canvases. The pigment was highly prized for its fleshy, warm undertone, which makes horrifying sense when you realize what it actually was. The gruesome truth was so well hidden behind the romanticized name that many artists genuinely believed Mummy Brown was just a clever, exotic marketing title. The turning point came when the famous English painter Edward Burne-Jones was casually informed by a friend about the actual literal ingredients of his favorite brown paint. Horrified to realize he had been painting with the crushed bones of ancient people, Burne-Jones immediately left his studio, marched into his back garden, and gave his tube of mummy brown paint a formal burial in the dirt. As the 20th century approached, the supply of ancient Egyptian mummies finally began to dry up, because they had ground up and used almost all of them, and public sentiment slowly turned against the desecration of the dead. The color vanished from artist palettes, replaced by modern synthetic alternatives. Today, countless priceless paintings hanging in grand museums around the world still contain the physical, pulverized remains of ancient people. So the next time you admire the glowing, warm shadows of a classic Victorian portrait, look closely. You might not just be looking at a beautiful work of art. You might be looking directly at the dead.